You ready? Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones, and let's drink some moon juice. Oh yeah, Suna. So excited I had to get up. Alright. Okay, so today, or this episode, I wanted to talk about my 6th birthday. And it's like a homage to Britney Spears, a love letter to Britney Spears, I don't know, I really can't think of the word that I want, but I just really want to express my appreciation and just gratitude and love and wisdom that I received from Britney Spears, and kind of the whole story behind why she's very significant in my life and my life path, not just on a societal, cultural level, but me personally in my life. And there was a lot of inner child insights that came through the Sagittarius season. Britney Spears is a Sagittarius, and I'm not too sure the rest of her chart. I know I looked into it at one time, and I don't really recall any like Leo energy, but she definitely gives off some like Leo energy for sure. She has Libra, and now I want to say Pisces, maybe a little Pisces, but just like a beauty queen. So there's so many different elements that I could relate to her with, like astrologically within my chart, or just within energy, like in general. Like you can just see it with her. And this is, so as I was meditating on all these memories and insights and closing out the year of the snake and really just reflecting on that core reconnection and I suppose like soul retrieval of like my inner child. So in my spiritual background episode or podcast or whatever I did, I talked about my 5th birthday and how I really wanted a Jesus birthday party. I wanted to like talk about scripture and how that was probably really annoying to people. But for me, it was deeply confirming and affirming of what I know today, which is that I'm meant to study theology, I'm meant to share philosophy and express myself within these insights with all of these different components. You know, I think about my Leo moon, which is significant. I think about not so much my Cancer rising, but the Aquarius energy and a little bit of the Cancerian energy on that healing, nurturing side, on top of the Aquarius, which is unconventional, and then all my Capricorn energy, which is really disciplined and grounded, foundational. So how do I piece together all of these moments in my life? Because they happen for a reason. I firmly believe that they happen for a reason. I'm almost 30 and I remember these things for a reason. It was deeply impactful for a reason. You know, Leo rules the 5th house. 5th house is a lot of like childhood connections, so to speak. And so you could say 5 years old, there is a start, a core aspect of your 5th house or your childhood and inner child connections. On top of the Sagittarius energy that is also connected to the inner child. So I'm kind of like trying to build and piece all of these theories and perspectives together and which ones apply to my life. So 5th birthday, wanted to be all about Jesus, but I was still like really girly. I think I mentioned in that video how I wanted to be a nun, but one of the main reasons I gave up being a nun is because I found out you couldn't wear makeup. I've always been really prissy and princessy, and I just got a lot of my childhood photos back. My grandmother kept them in this file and my aunt sent them to me, and I thought about showing everyone. Like, I think it paints a really good picture from the infant photos all the way, I believe it goes through my junior or senior year. I don't even know if it goes through that far. It might stop my 9th grade year. I know for sure one of them is in high school, but I think that's kind of when it stopped. And then there's a whole lot that goes into that. But just try to stay on target and on topic with this episode and how this all comes together, and wanting to express that. So the story with my connection to Britney Spears, how did it begin? Well, it was my 6th birthday, and so I was, you know, pretty conservative Christian, Jesus freak, like little child, which is, you know, how most kids are raised in those kinds of towns. And from the background that I came from with like my grandmother, grandpa, and I don't remember a lot of my father's influence in his side of the family. My parents divorced when I was 2-ish, and I saw my father when I was 4, and then I didn't really see him again throughout my life. I think I saw him once or twice, and then we didn't start rebuilding our connection until I was like 20-ish years old. So that kind of connects into all of this. So this is like, I grew up within a huge perspective of my mother's side of the family and a lot of that ancestral connection. And so, yeah, I was touched by an angel, and this just, you know, I don't know, insightful little child who was deeply connected to God. And I do argue that children are the closest thing that you can get to God, children and animals. I think they are so pure and innocent that it is an instant connection, but great representation of what I would say God is. And not in a Christian perspective, like God, the universe, the creator energy. However, when I was 5, it was very much through a Christian lens. But I think you just, again, I've said this before, but you identify with that because that's your cultural lens. Like, you can't deny how society and our family shapes us. We have these intuitive understandings, and then when we express them, the family, the culture, society projects what it thinks to teach you, to program you, because you're a child. And that's the whole point of like parenting and family, is they raise you, they teach you how to be an adult. They morph you, and sometimes they don't morph you the best. And it's not anyone's fault of their own. It's generational, it's ancestral, it's all of these things. And so I was really struggling with this identity of wanting to be this like pop queen princess, like very Leo moon child, with the Aquarius sun, right? Unconventional and quirky and fun and vibrant. Like, there was such a really loud like mixture here. And I've always been into like more taboo things. That kind of ties back into my mom. So my mom is a huge like 80s glam metal chica. And that was she's a product of her generation, right? She's very much 80s, still to this day, kind of stuck in the 80s. And I can also argue, you know, my grandmother was stuck in the 50s. There is like a Leo lineage of pop culture queens. So my grandmother's a Leo sun, Libra moon, and she was very big into Elvis and, oh my gosh. Oh, like she really liked soul music. But Elvis, of course, was, you know, he was the king. But my grandmother, she really loved pop culture. E-News was always on. There's a huge celebrity culture in my household. And then my mom, she kind of rebelled against that a little bit. She didn't like the conventional celebrity, but she still liked the rock star and celebrity. Molly Cruz, her favorite. Vince Neil, she would still jump his bones to this day if he gave her an opportunity, just smitten with the man. And so she raised me like with that understanding. I didn't have a whole lot of connection to my generation of things. I listened to my mom's music, which is classic rock. I was a huge Alice Cooper fan, and all of these things we used to have when we had our girls' nights. My mom used to have girls' night, and then like a separate night for each one of us kids, the boys. But then she'd have a boys' night, girls' night, and then like individual nights. And our nights were we'd always get pizza, and we'd jam some music, and we'd dance around. And she always, you know, it was always classic rock. And it was so fun. Whites, I think of it like Whitesnake, Great White. It was an experience, it was an era, and I'm really grateful for that experience. Like, I still love a big part of that music. I just also realized it was shaped and molded from my mother, and it's not necessarily mine or about me, even if I do have a connection to it or an attachment to it. But she had a friend, Bubba, and he just couldn't believe that her daughter didn't know who Britney Spears was. And so he got me a Britney Spears CD for I believe it was Oops, I Did It Again, pretty sure. That was for my 6th birthday, and that just rocked my world. It rocked my world in so many ways, because Britney was so beautiful and elegant and sweet and innocent, and she was just a breath of fresh air. Like, I was so inspired with what I saw. I thought she was a literal angel. Awestruck as a kid about her beauty, her talent, just how fun she was. Like, there was so much I could draw from it. I would pick out the best outfits I possibly could with what was in my closet, and I would try to match her outfit. I would like roll up my shirt into like a little crop to try to fit it, and I would like lay and pose on the couch like how she was posing, like her discography, or like the album like pamphlet thing, whatever that is, and like just all her little portfolios and things. Like, I wanted so bad, I would ask for that red leather suit for Christmas. I had a Britney like Barbie doll, and that changed my world. And it kind of like, I don't know, my grandmother was pretty supportive of like that direction, I think, in like memory. You know, people are like, well, Britney is a little crude and she is going wild, and like she started being a little bit more adult and sexual, and so I was like, that's not a good influence for my like purity daughter. And I can understand certain boundaries around that. That's like a whole other topic to discuss, but I remember there just being like a lot of issues around all of that, but I didn't see it as sexual. I wasn't sexualizing it. To me, it was artistic and creative, and I didn't see what other people saw like that. It was so weird to me. I didn't understand the criticism. It made me question myself, because I was like, well, everyone's telling me this is bad, but I don't see it being bad. Like, they really demonized this woman. She fucking went through hell. And that's why I think she's such a great source in pop culture to like learn from, especially as someone who identifies so much with her in my own way. I want to make sure that like I can navigate any potential anything to avoid what happened to her happening to me. It's such a tragedy, it's such a crisis, and I do firmly believe that she's a victim. I don't care how off her rocker she is. I don't care what she's done. She is the way she is because of what has been done to her. Like, I don't care what theory you subscribe to, whether it's the medication, whether she's cloned, whether it's certain psychosis. Like, she's a lesson of being surrounded by vampires and unsupportive people, just people who just want to siphon off of you and take advantage of you, people who want to destiny swap with you, but maybe they can't fully destiny swap with you, so they just trap you in a box and then they feed off of you for all eternity. And when I say free Britney, I mean free her soul. I don't know if her soul's freed. I feel like there's just something so much darker that's happened to her, and I want to protect myself and I want to protect others from that same fate, because I don't think anything that happened to her was right. Like the gossip columnists, and I'm someone, I like to keep up with pop culture and like those like news magazines, the gossip mags, like not because I'm nosy about people's lives, but because I'm curious and I like to study people on like a sociological level. There's so much in pop culture. Like, this is my generation. This is what we're going to be known for in history. Britney Spears left her mark on the world. Like, she's going to be part of archaeology in the future. You can't deny that. Not every artist is, but she's going to be just like Elvis, just like arguably like Motley Crue because of what they did for glam metal in that context. But like, there's all of these knowings of history. We are a living history, and she's a part of that. And so if I am another generation of that same pop culture movement, because I would argue Britney's a counterculture movement, just with the statements that she made and how she had to fight for her life just to defend herself. Like I said, people were really awful in her transformation shift and what she was inspiring in the youth, and I think that that's crazy. And I don't think people give her that kind of credit either. I think some people do, but for the most part, they dismiss her a lot as just a pop artist. And my mom dismissed her a lot of like just like a bimbo. She really didn't like women like Britney Spears, Pamela Anderson. Like, she just, I don't know. It's just really weird to me because she was such a 80s glam metal groupie in a loving way. I mean that in a loving way. Like, she loved all that makeup, the big hair. Like, she just, I don't know. And that kind of goes into the confusion of like the Britney Spears story, how much she inspired me and how much that bothered my mom, especially based off of what my mom would tell me about. She wanted me to be independent and successful, go to college, like she wanted me to be ambitious and successful. but it had to be done in a really specific way. I would argue that didn't outshine her, but also, or in a way that complimented her, that made her shine brighter. And, you know, I needed to be reserved, and I needed to be this, and I needed to be that, and it was weird because, like, I did it, but just not in the way that she wanted. And then I kept, like, just trying, again, like Britney, I feel like did, just kept trying to put herself in a box to make family happy, because you don't cut off family. You don't, you know, like, family's not meant to hurt you. So I see very easily how someone could get coerced or trapped into that kind of conservatorship, the gaslighting, the, like, you need help. Oh, you're right, I do need help, and I love you, and I trust you, right? And then they do all this stuff to you, and it drives you fucking crazy. Well, I've really paid attention to that, and so I've delicately, as I've been going on this path, been moving people from my life, because I don't want that to ever happen to me. Or if it starts to happen to me, I want to be able to, like, nip it in the bud right away. I don't want it to gradually go to the extreme that it went for Britney, and already to the extreme that it already did in my life. Like, all of these, like, little moments. My mom being pissed. She was so upset at her friend for buying me that for my birthday, and it was one of my favorite presents I've ever gotten. It changed my life in so many ways. It's just like, I talk about Green Day being revolutionary, which my mom bought the Green Day CD because it had a hit song, Boulevard Broken Dreams, and I think Wake Me Up When September Ends. She hated the song American Idiot, and I don't think she liked the rest of the album. I fucking loved it. Heard it, Message, Received, Billy Joe Armstrong, like, fucking loved that shit. So, and that was when I was 8 years old, so 6 and 8, very significant years music-wise, and Britney, I would say, was for age 6. But through that, like, self-expression, and, like, I wanted to sing and perform, and I was trying to get into acting classes, theater class, just expressing myself more and more creatively, fashionably, all of these things, really feeling alive. And then it slowly started to gradually go into, well, I hate pink now, and, like, just elitist mentalities about things, especially then later on when I found Green Day, because I would say ideologically, not that I didn't ideologically connect with Britney Spears, what I really liked about her, especially at that time, is she was this, like, really beautiful, elegant, sexy woman. She was intelligent and talented and creative and expressive, but she was also, like, talking about her relationship to God, and I, like, thought that was significant and important for me, because that's always been, like, the issue with my faith. Is it's like, it's not that I don't believe in God in the way that you believe, because I don't believe God would hate me for being who I am, and you believe that God would hate me for being who I am, when that just doesn't fucking make sense. Because God created me to do this. Like, I firmly believe God created Britney Spears to do what fucking Britney Spears was doing, all the way to her fucking peak. That bitch is insane. And I feel like that was the same for me. I'm insane, and I'm, like, on a mission. I was created to do the things that I do, and in the way that I do them, as a human being, in the full spectrum of being a human being. And so it really adds to, like, a difficulty in being anything but anti-Christian. It's not anti-God, if you know what God means. It's the anti-Christian God. It's the anti-false God. It's all of those things. And I feel like, you know, Britney talks about that too. Like, I don't believe in God anymore. Well, yeah, look at what you guys fucking did. You weaponized God against her. You used God's name in vain. Hello, ultimate sin. All of society, all of Hollywood, fuck all of you. And so, yeah, anyway, it's similar to my mother. And I also just found it super hypocritical. It's like, well, you love Motley Crue, and, I mean, Pamela Anderson was, like, married to Tommy Lee. Is it, like, a jealousy? Like, I didn't get it. It's like, I really didn't understand, like, why my mom she had, like, an issue with them as women, and that, like, really planted something in my psyche that was really conflicting and difficult as I developed female relationships, as I looked at other women, as I tried to express myself. There's so much guilt and shame and judgment, and when it really, to me, like, a vibe is a vibe. Like, and for me, the vibe is when I know that someone did something that is genuinely lovable from self-expression. Like, it's truly authentic. Like, you know when someone's wearing something to be performative, and you know when someone's wearing something because they love it, or because they're fitting a statement. Like, of course, people will wear things to be performative when they're, like, cosplaying or for, like, themes or events. That's different. Okay, that's different than someone who's constantly trying to put on a mask to be like an image. Completely different thing, right? And so I love when I see people who are genuinely dressing up or cosplaying or whatever in a really fun, heart-centered way. And that is a full spectrum of styles and aesthetics. And I try them out. Like today I wore this because I'm talking about Britney Spears, and I really wanted to show that softer, girlier, prissy, like early 2000s like vibe. Like I absolutely love this skirt, but it wouldn't necessarily fit my goth thing. I've been kicked out of every clique and niche. I don't feel like I belong anywhere because of just how much I can, not that I love everything, but I can be every color of the rainbow and still be true to myself. Like this is still a Sarah outfit, but it's not as dark and gloomy. This would definitely be like a spring or even like a really soft winter, which is kind of like what I was hoping for, especially talking about Miss Britney. So that's what's fun about all of this for me. But anyway, I find that shift to be really interesting, as far as, you know, going from like non-purity culture to wanting to be a woman of God, but like shedding that purity culture skin. And ultimately what I feel like Britney did was she was crucified for it. I think there's a lot of stuff that went on. I feel like I've been crucified in my own way. Unfortunately, it seemed like it started with my mom, because again, to kind of conclude some other thoughts, like I started to hate pink, refused to wear pink. I didn't even really want to wear blue, but like I really wanted to be like, no, I'm not a princess, I'm not a girl, I'm not Barbie, because I was blonde, I'm naturally blonde, and it was such an insult at the time to be called Barbie. I love it now, and there was a time where when I was a kid I loved it, but I recognized when it was actually insulting, and when I started to recognize it being insulting, it's when I started to rebel against it, even at my own detriment. Even when it meant dressing myself down, even when it meant doing things that I didn't like, because I was like, you're not gonna put me in this box, you're not gonna judge me, you're not gonna belittle me. And I really wanted my mom's approval. And so that's what's crazy to me, is to like, I don't have it. I don't think I've ever really had it. And it's like, I did everything that she wanted. Still to make her happy. And now I'm just reconnecting to what I've always wanted to be, which I think makes her the most angry. I wouldn't know. This is just my own personal reflection, and I always like to know. I try to give my mom as much credit and grace as I can. These are difficult conversations. Should I be having them with my mom instead of on a podcast? I've tried. And so I want to teach the parallels from it while also still holding a lot of love for my mom, who is a victim of her circumstance, a victim of her generation, and a victim of her own making. But also through her being that adversarial force, it gave me everything that I needed. So like I don't know if it's just like the role that she played and it was necessary, because I had to overcome that, which I think ultimately has not just healed me, healed many women and people that I've talked to, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to heal my ancestry, especially on my mother's side, especially on the feminine side. I can see where my father's mom and my mom are similar. I see where my husband's mom, my father's mom, and my mom are similar. Like everything kind of, personality traits and energies kind of come together in an interesting way. And this is all through a lens of skepticism that it's kind of, at this point, it would be just pure blind ignorance to ignore it, right? These are conclusions after a lot of contemplation and thinking. So yeah, like I feel like now there's been, through such radical rebellion, which is kind of like an awareness of myself, like I'm a natural rebel, and I feel like sometimes my family, my mother, my brothers, not so much my grandparents, but my mom and my brothers, they I don't want to say tortured me, they tormented me, that's a better word. We have difficult dynamics. It's always been a struggle, especially with how I wanted to choose to express myself. And shouldn't be surprised at what they're saying when I think about how they talk about people, women like Britney Spears or Pamela Anderson, and that lens of judgment that society puts on celebrities or artists, successful people. Like, there's so many different reasons why. And is some of the criticism justified? Absolutely. Like, Hollywood celebrities, people are insufferable. And so I've always wanted to kind of find that balance. And I think Britney's a good indication of a woman who just wanted to perform, who just wanted to create, who just wanted to live happily ever after, and she was abused and bullied into a state of understandable psychosis and rage and dissociation and all of the above. Like I said, I really feel for her, and I think that part of how we stop that is not only certain legality things of how much influence family has, but just because someone's blood, I don't think means that they have the best interests of the person at heart. And I think that that needs to change within the legislation. There's a lot of different things that have come from this. Your family can want the worst for you. Because I just think about, again, how my family talked about someone I liked, and then, which it only just caused me to be a hater back to them, which was not fun. There's, nitpicking and roasting and teasing, and you can have fun with the differences. My husband and I do it all the time. He teases me about liking Britney Spears all the time. He can't stand her music. That's his preference, his opinion. But he doesn't, it doesn't alter his opinion of me. He doesn't belittle me. It's just a fun little, he's a black metal dude and I'm like a Barbie. It's just an interesting combo because I do love metal and I love black metal and punk and all of that all those other genres. That is still a huge part of my favorites and preferences, and so my spectrum is contradicting and confusing. Not very many people have an eclectic music taste, but my husband gets it. Even if he doesn't understand Britney specifically, he gets the spectrum because my husband loves underground black metal, but he's also a really huge Radiohead fan, and he knows every genre possible. There's classical music that he listens to. There's things that I haven't even heard of, never even knew existed until my husband. So I think just that love for diversity and self-expression and not over-sexualizing fashion and, again, self-expression. I think that's the downfall, is the over-sexualization of women. And just because something is sexy or a nude human body, just because it's flesh and skin and has a potential for arousal or has a threshold for arousal, doesn't mean it needs to be sexualized. And you don't have to fit into whore or purity culture. You can be centered in having grounded balance within your own sexual relationship and fashion and clothing and all of the above without it stigmatizing you. So that goes into all of those things and that whole journey of all the stuff I've had to heal from, at my core, just wanting to be the little girl within me just wanted to be a Britney Spears in life. I just wanted to be fun and fashionable and carefree, and we all know that Justin Timberlake is a douchebag and stuff like that, but I just wanted my happily ever after, and I'm really blessed for the time that I've had to be delayed and a late bloomer, because I feel like I was able to mature to where when all of these things take off for me in my own way, however that looks, I'm going to be strong enough and wise enough to protect myself from that. And I do have a beautiful husband who will equally protect me from that. Justin didn't protect Britney. Her father didn't protect her. Everyone failed Britney, and everyone in my family, arguably one way or another, to some level, has failed me. And now I'm just really trying to make sure that I don't fail myself, and I'm reconnecting to all of that. So I think society, we have a deep root rot to clean up, and it starts by cleaning up within ourselves. And all the shadow work that I've been doing. It's interesting, all the fun little nuances that come up, but pop culture moments. I can't deny that I was born in '96. I can't deny my generation and my astrological birth chart being expressed through this moment in time, through all of this. And that's where I think we need to give grace to future generations, younger generations, and maybe where we don't understand their pop culture. Because I mean, I think it's fun. I love old culture and I really love new culture, and I think everything can teach us something. And it's, as long as we're finding that balance through it, I don't see why it has to be demonized or like the big question that I have been asking is, why is it okay for them to do it but not okay for me to do it? And then in celebrity world, it's okay for some celebrities to do it, but it's not okay for other celebrities to do it. Or why is it okay for men to do it, but not okay for women to do it? And all of the above. It's like rules for thee, but not for me. And that is my Sagittarian conclusion, because I have my Pluto in Sagittarius, and I believe it is burning that bridge of that dogma. And that like legislation, philosophy, all of the above, these are rules for humanity. There ultimately is no hierarchy. There is only role, but no role is more important than the other. And we need to quit being hypocrites and demonizing everyone, and just, I don't know, staying true to what that inspiration brought up within you. Like, I really, not to say that I regret it, because it was always there, but it negatively influenced my decisions, and arguably I could be a lot farther along in my life than where I'm at if, one, I didn't have a family that I had, if I had a more supportive, loving family who really nurtured my inspirations and desires and wishes and dreams and personality traits, and just really honored me as the individual that I was, instead of trying to make me a mini me of my mother or whatever version of me that they wanted me to be. But yeah, but also if I didn't let it impact me, like there are people, and I like kudos to all those people. I don't know how you did it, but there are people, and I mean I've done it to an extent. I escaped. I am free. I made my way out. I'm building a life for myself, and I am reconnecting to, I'm upset that it took so much time. I feel like I was in prison for a really long time. Now I'm finally set free and able to connect to myself again and be who I have always been and who I've always wanted to be. I can dress the way I want and express myself the way I want, and I'm building a career that I really want to build and a life that I really want to live. And I could have been doing that all along if I would have just stayed true to myself, which that's really hard to do when you're a child. I think that's what comes into Moloch, the devil, and child sacrifice. I think you sacrifice your childhood for gnosis and wisdom, so that way you don't run into potentially certain hiccups that you may not be mature enough to navigate. Like you can look at Charlie Sheen, you can look at every child star, and I mean Britney Spears is a child star, so there is a lot of gratitude and respect for my delay. It is perfect divine timing because of all the wisdom that came from it. But if I could share anything, it's that for parents or for kids, it's make sure that you're staying true to yourself, because I'm right back where I was at 6 years old. 5 and 6 years old. I'm right back where I was as a child. 5, 6, 8, and 9. Those are really significant years. I don't know, 7's kind of a blur. But preaching the word of God, theology, philosophy, being a pop culture, counterculture icon, and fashionista, and creative, hyper feminine woman who's punk as fuck, and writing and like other creative things. So if I would have like held on to that more, or if maybe if the pressure wasn't so heavy, maybe if it wasn't so dark, maybe if I wasn't a vulnerable child, maybe if I wasn't a vulnerable party, it would have been easier. And that's why I think we really need to protect children and respect and nurture them and nourish them and all of the above as they are. That is my biggest inner child healing lesson, is I think that children know a lot more than adults give them credit, and I think it's a huge manipulation which is manifesting in the off balance of our world and trauma of our world, is because we're all traumatized children. My grandma said that to me. She's like, well, you're a traumatized child. I'm a traumatized child too. And I was like, well, it's not my responsibility. People have to do the work for themselves, and you have to do the work for yourself, but then you also have to support people through the journey of doing that work, if we're going to want a better world and a better future for everybody. But it starts with letting kids be kids and letting them stay true to themselves, and just giving them, you know, bumper rails, just so that way they don't fall off a cliff, which is ultimately what I did in my own way. I fell off a cliff. I jumped off the cliff to escape, and then I was captured and trapped and thrown in a box, and then I outgrew that box, and then I would break the box, and I was put into another box, and it just seemed like it was never ending. But I finally feel free, and it feels like a permanent freedom, especially if I continue to maintain this discipline and gnosis and honor that I have received. So I want to share it with everyone else. But that is kind of the evolution from, like, you know, nun Jesus freak to Britney Spears wannabe. But how all of those phases and moments in my life ultimately were fragments of who I am in my entirety. And I think that complexity and diversity is beautiful, and I think we all need to express our more eclectic, multidimensional assets of ourselves. With that, I think I'm going to conclude with this episode 11, my Britney Spears, one day I'm going to actually look up this word. But my gratitude to Britney Spears. I don't have a better phrase except love letter. I don't want to repeat love letter, because I feel like I have a few dozen videos that are love letters to all of these energies and beings and all of the above, but I really wanted to make sure to foundationalize this love letter to Britney Spears and what she did for our culture, what she did for me, and how I hope that we can all heal and learn from this, and that she is set free one day too. All right. So, thank you for drinking some moon juice, and I'll talk to you next time.